All right, good morning, seventh graders. So this is just a quick review of what it is that you're supposed to be working on throughout this week while I'm gone. We went through this on Thursday last week, and you should have already got a good chunk of your research done on Friday when I was out. So as you're going through, I just want to reiterate a couple of things, and then on Thursday I'll share another video with you that kind of just goes through some of the finishing things. So this isn't everything. This is just kind of the get you started, get you working on stuff video, and then we'll get through some of the other things that deal more with the final product when we later in the week. So like on Thursday, I'll send that video out. So first reminder is that this is going to be due a week from today. So today's Tuesday. It'll be due next Tuesday. I'll be back next Monday, and we'll talk about where you're at, and I'll answer some questions, and then you'll have that day in class as well as if you need to finish an advisory or at home that night, the ability to do that. The hope is that you're just working on this in class. Okay? I don't really have much else for you guys to do during class, so I appreciate if you don't work ahead unless you feel like you're behind. So, again, what you should be doing today, if you didn't already finish Friday, is you should be doing your research. And the research is the longest part of this project and the most important part. Doing good research using these websites, okay, is gonna make the difference between how easy it is to create the final product or not. The amount of information that you get and what type of information you get varies depending on which time period you're in, and that's just basic because scientists have more information about some time periods than others based off of the geologic records by looking at the rocks and fossils and things like that. So do your best, but it needs to be an exhaustive search. And what I mean by that is that you're actually going through and you're really using these websites, and you're not just going to one or two and saying, okay, I got a couple of things, I'm just going to use this. You should be looking at 3 to 4 to 5 different sites, especially if you have one of those time periods where there's not a ton of information, so that you can get every little bit that you can, so that you have a final product that shows depth and detail in the information. Okay? All right, so like I showed you guys last week, this page right here from the BMS library page is where you really want to start. And you got to scroll down here to science. And any of these research databases have search engines in them that you can search for your time period. And I think that's the best way to get pictures and work and everything like that. After those, these are 3 kind of more generalized sources for you that you can use, but they're credible, so they're good things to do. Besides maybe Googling for images, I really would like you to stay away from Googling for the project. You can even use the book. Okay, the textbooks that are up in the front, they have some information on most of the periods, maybe not all of them, but most of them. They don't have enough for your entire report, but they also have some things if you want to look for as well. The big thing is that you cannot forget to have this bibliography. Okay, that's super important for you. There's no way for you to be able to get an A on this project if you don't have a correct bibliography, so that's super important for you to be able to do that. Okay, and just remember, like I showed you in class, the best way to do it is just as you work, use this Noodle Tools website and just keep track of the stuff as you go. That's the easiest way to do it. And then when you're all done, you just go to that Noodle Tools page and you just create the Works Cited page, and it literally just plugs in all the information correctly for you and puts it into a Works Cited page that you can then just attach or print to turn in. So it's really important. Okay. Page 2, the research when you're going through your research, yes, like number 10 says, you're looking for important and interesting facts, but you're also trying to go through and answer these questions. And some of them are questions that you would find in the resources, specifically first 6 questions. Okay, and then of course question 10. Questions 7, 8, and 9 are more based off of what you think. You're not going to find this information obviously in the research. It's what you think, based off of what you've already found in all these other questions. All right, so make sure that you're using these. Like I showed you in part of the rubric here, when you're turning in, 10 of the 38 points come from you just doing the research questions, that they're done, and that your answers show depth and detail. So that they're not, when you write on a doc or something, like if it ends up being like, just a half a page of stuff, that's not enough. That's not depth or detail. So make sure you're getting in and you're finding enough information, and you're putting enough responses in there to show all the details, to show all the information. Remember, you're the expert for this time period. You're going to be sharing it with the class. Everyone else is depending on you to get enough information. So that's really important. All right, let's look at this rubric here a little bit more, and then we'll move on. So for your, sorry, my dog was just doing so. All right, so for the rubric here, like I just said, you have the research questions. We talked about that. Your final product, okay? You're trying to show some creativity. Obviously, it has to link to this idea of a vacation destination. So that's kind of the fun, creative part that you can have fun with as you go through and do that. Whatever product you make needs to be neat and organized. It just shows effort, and it shows that you care about what you're producing. You need to have pictures, and as you're going through, there needs to be very few grammar and spelling errors. Okay, that's just me looking at the final product itself. It doesn't necessarily, this does not have to deal with what the information is. This is just what the product looks like. All right, and you can look at what will happen in some of these other columns in terms of if you're lacking for your final product. Information is also 10 points. Okay, information is accurate. It includes major events, depth and details of information. And the reason I put research questions in parentheses is that this is almost directly related to the research questions. If you do a great job on your research questions by showing depth and detail to begin with, then your information in your product is going to be just as good. So if you get 10 points here, more than likely you're going to get 10 points here, unless you just don't put everything in. So going through the research, like I said, should be the longest part, and should be the part that is going to be the most important of this. Okay, you start losing points when you start missing some of the major events that take place, or that you don't have enough information, things like that, or you start Google searching and you're finding stuff, and as I'm reading it or as you're presenting it, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not correct. So you just be careful with your information and make sure that you're spending enough time on it. Okay, presentation we'll talk about in class on Monday, but it's not a huge part of your grade, but it is part of your grade. And it's something that I think, as you're now in 7th grade and working towards 8th grade in high school, it's something that it's a skill that you guys need to begin practicing and developing, of being able to speak to people about things that you know, so that you can share knowledge with people and you can get practice of feeling comfortable in front of people. All right, and then here's the bibliography at the end. Okay, I talked about more than 2 sources and in the correct format. Okay, so I'll come with another video Thursday just to kind of go through the final products and some of the options that you have for that to be working on. But good luck, get working on stuff, and use your time wisely. And I will see you guys in a couple